Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us at Donna McLeod's Roundtable. We're going to go ahead and thank her and introduce all of our guests. Donna, would you like to say a word?
Yes, I want to thank all the candidates that are here and everyone that's listening out there. This is going to give us an opportunity for the candidates to show that they're ready to serve you and to make sure that they get a chance to tell you about themselves and just talk about some of the issues. So I'm so grateful for everyone that's here right now watching, and please feel free to ask questions. And I hope that this is an informative session for you to learn something about the candidates and about our elections. And let's get started, and I'll turn it back over to the host.
Thank you so much, Donna. And I wanted to go ahead and introduce my co-host for the evening. It's going to be Dr. Tracy Fisher. Thank you so much, Dr. Tracy, for deciding to jump in here and help us out with this forum.
Of course, I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So yeah, this forum was called up about a week or two ago after me and Donna and some of the school board members attended an event. We thought it was really timely and important to go ahead and set something like this up. So we're going to talk about propaganda, social and community issues, as well as some of the policies that these elected officials, Donna's elected, and the candidates can give to us. And by the way, my name is Judy Ike. So in case you guys did not know, so we're going to go ahead and start with the candidates doing a 90-second introduction of themselves. Just tell us who you are, what you're running for, and why you decided to run for this seat. And we're going to start off with the top with our elected official, Representative Donna McLeod. Then we're going to go down with the Senate, and then the House rep, then district attorney, and then the school board in order.
Thank you so much, Hoodie. Look, so I'm grateful. Obviously, I'm the elected official here, and one of the things that have been very important for me is to be having a seat at the table. We needed pragmatic people in government to make sure that we ensure that our constituents have the things that they need, but the tax dollars that they pay. So I ran in 2016. I lost. I ran again in 2018 and won. I originally was born in Jamaica, grew up in Ontario, Canada, and I became a citizen in 2012. And for me, the idea of this fabulous representative democracy is one of the most intriguing part of living here. That ability to participate and to have a voice in how the country's actually run, because it is about we the people. And so I am always grateful to be at a table. People ask me, has it been difficult? Yes, it's been difficult. It's challenging. But I think the most important part about being a representative is the fact that you actually are the voice of people, and you want to make sure that people get the things that they need, and that this country actually fulfills its responsibility to living up to its creed, to be a place where everybody can strive and everybody can do well. So I am grateful for being, and I hope that, like I said before, I hope that this will be a conversation that enlightens and helps people to make decisions going forward. So I'm looking forward to this conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Representative McLeod. And next, we're going to go ahead and talk with Nikki. Nikki, please introduce yourself, who you are, and why you're running.
Yeah. Hi. Thank you, Edie. So yes, my name is Nikki Merritt. I am running for state senate in District 9 here. District 9 covers Grayson, Decula, Lawrenceville, parts of Snellville, and Lilburn. And this is the top flippable seat this election cycle. So I am running just to make sure families like mine have a voice in government, and to make sure that all people are living well. And we want policies that reflect our diverse communities, and policies that serve our vulnerable and our working families. And a lot of times we're not seeing that right now. We need candidates like myself to lead with empathy. I think social justice matters, equity and laws matter. We all want healthcare, and we all want things like better jobs, and we all want to have social justice serve to all of our communities, and it works for all of our communities. And that's a lot of the reason why I'm running. I want to be the voice on those issues and be responsive to my community on those issues. And I want to be the voice at the table advocating for that in the legislature every day. So yes, Nikki Merritt, happy to be here, and I'm excited about this discussion.
Thank you so much for that, Nikki. And next we're going to go to House District 104.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name is Nikita Hemingway. I am running for House District 104, which sits in the northeast corner of Gwinnett, covers Tequila, Lawrenceville, and Auburn. House District 104 is a unique district. It was gerrymandered by my opponent, the incumbent, in 2016. And next year, 2021, we will draw the lines for redistricting. So it's very, very important that I get elected so that we can get the majority in the Georgia House to be able to draw those lines fairly. We want to make sure that representation works for every person in this community. House District 104 is one of the most important seats this session. It is a triple nested seat. It sits inside of two flippable Senate districts, Senate District 9, which is Nikki Merritt, Senate District 45, which is Madeline Jones. It also sits inside one flippable congressional district, which is Congressional District 7, Carolyn Bourdeaux. So a down ballot vote for this seat can get you a long, long way to turn in the state of Georgia blue. In 2018, my primary opponent, Andrea Stevenson, lost by nearly 1,400 votes. For the first time ever, this seat sits 52% Democrat. So we have a real chance at flipping this. One of the reasons I put my name on the ballot is because I don't see enough people like me sitting at the table representing this community. We need more compassion, more empathy, but we also need more diversity. Professionally, I'm a realtor, I'm a farmer, I'm a mother, and I genuinely care about the human condition. So, Nikita Hemingway, House District 104. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Nikita, for a great introduction. And next we're going to go with House District 106.
Sure, thank you. So my name is Rebecca Mitchell, and I am running for House District 106, which is actually the top flippable state house seat, and it is actually includes most of part of Nikki's Senate district seat, as well as Carolyn. So we have a lot of seats here that we do really see the potential to change the makeup of the state legislature. One of the reasons I am running is because I am really passionate about making sure that Georgians have the ability to use healthcare and are able to afford to use healthcare. I moved to Georgia about 7 years ago when I found out my son would be born with a major birth defect, and we wanted to make sure we stayed insured in the U.S. Because we were worried if we got off U.S. insurance, we would never be able to get back onto it because we weren't sure the ACA would stand. Now we stand here again, worried about whether the ACA will stay in place, and seeing Georgia actually erode the protections of the ACA with the local waivers, even if it stays in place federally. So it's even more important right now that we care about what our Georgia legislature looks like, because the protections that we have fought so hard to get federally can get taken away and degraded locally. So I am really running because I want to help us make better healthcare policy here in Georgia, and make sure that we are doing the simple things like expanding Medicaid to cover 500,000 more people, but also having the conversation about how to do the harder things, because even when we cover 500,000 more people, we still have 1 million Georgians who can't afford health insurance. So I am really hoping to further those conversations in the State House, and that is why I chose to raise my hand. Locally, my district covers the majority of municipal Snellville, some of Grayson, some of Lawrenceville, and some of Loganville.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Rebecca. We really appreciate you. And next, we're going to go to the next set of candidates. Same question. Give us your 90-second stop. Who are you? Why are you running? We're going to start off the top with Patsy Austin Gatson. You're on mute, Patsy.
Sorry about that.
Uh-huh.
But thank you so much for having me this evening. Thank you, Udi. Thank you, Donna, for setting this up. And I'm just so excited. Right now, we are 16 days out, and it's been a long haul. And I've been speaking with constituents in Gwinnett County, and I'm learning a lot. And I think that's important, is to have someone in the office of the district attorney who is willing to listen to the constituents. I've met with several people that indicated to me that they tried. They tried to speak with the present district attorney to no avail. And I just feel that that is inappropriate, and it's not what we are elected to be about. We are elected to be about the people and to be responsible to the needs of the people of our county. So I'm running because I feel it's time. It's time for change. It's time to be proactive and creative when it comes to the criminal justice system. I think everybody knows that it has to be changed. What we have now cannot continue into the future. We have to have criminal justice reform in a real way, not around the edges, not around the periphery, but we really have to dig down deep and make sure that this system changes, because right now it has shortchanged a lot of people. So I'm running for that reason. I'm vested in our community. I've lived in Gwinnett County for 22 years. I've raised 3 children here, and I have 2 grandbabies that also live in this county. So I want this county to be better for everyone that lives in it. We do have a diverse community. I've met with the Chinese community, I've met with the Korean community, I've met with the Muslim community, and we all must come together, unite, and make this a better place for us all. So I'm asking for the vote on November 3rd. If people have not voted already, I'm asking for your vote. You can learn more about me at my website. It's patsy4da.com. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Patsy. Next, we're going to go with school board member, District 1.
Hello, my name is Karen Watkins, and I am running for Gwinnett County Board of Education, District 1. A little bit about myself. I actually grew up in New York in a very diverse household where my mother is Filipino and my father is African-American and Caribbean descent. We moved to Georgia in 2015, settling in Gwinnett County for one specific reason, because it is one of the most diverse counties actually in America. We as a household, actually, we believe, especially me partially growing up in a county which wasn't very diverse, and spending my high school years there, and my husband growing up in an area where it wasn't very diverse. We knew that in order to deal with the real world, our children needed to grow up in a county. If we were going to move to Georgia and be there, we needed to be around diverse people so they know that this is the way the world is. And we need to embrace it and have them empower that it's one of the strengths that will help them with their future and attaining their goals, and understanding why diversity is important. In 2019, I actually, when I came here, I was actually, in 2016, I actually met Donna McLeod. She and a few other of my great friends here, including Udi and Tracy, the folks encouraged me to run for school board. I've been very active in my children's education, as well as with reference to helping young people get civically engaged, and also volunteering to help young women to be more engaged and very confident with themselves, and trying to position them and trying to help them understand that they can be in positions of power when they grow up. I did co-found in 2019 a nonprofit. It's called CORE, and it focuses in on building and maintaining thriving communities, and education is at the core of the community. In fall of 2019, I formally decided to run for Gwinnett County Board of Education as a parent of 2 young girls in the school system. I noticed that there was a plethora of opportunities that just weren't identified nor engaged or anything by the current school board member. So I decided to step up to the challenge, because as a board member, I will have the privilege and our school board member today should have thought of this, but I would have the privilege to be able to help ensure all of our children who attend Gwinnett County Public School Systems receive a quality education, are safe in schools, feel cared for and supported by their community. As of today, these are things, in speaking with our community members, these are things that there are gaps in this, and even our community members have addressed that there are a plethora of opportunities to help ensure that these things actually happen in our school system. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Karen Watkins. And next we're going to go to candidate for School Board District 3. Tanisha.
Can you hear me? Got it. Hello, everyone. Thank you for this platform, Yudi and Donna. I appreciate the opportunity to talk to the voters directly. Always an honor to do that. My name is Tanisha Banks, and I am the Democratic nominee for District 3, a school board. And I'm originally from California, and I attended Clark Atlanta University right here in downtown Atlanta in the late 80s. And I believe that it's time for the rich diversity in our community to be reflected on our school board. My mission and vision as a school board member is to bring these fresh ideas and some 21st century solutions to the challenges that confront our school system. And I am currently employed as a certified special education teacher in Gwinnett County. And I am keenly familiar with the barriers that impact teaching and learning in our schools. I am also a mother of 2 children who attend schools in Gwinnett County in District 3. And I have a vested interest in the success of our schools. And I want all students to achieve their maximum potential. And I have kind of like a unique perspective and a wealth of knowledge concerning issues that that students experience, as well as teachers and parents. And I want to be an advocate for them. And I'm running for you, the community, because I want you to know that you're being heard. And I want you to know that I am listening, and that I am reachable, and that I'm accessible. And I'm running for teachers to ensure that teachers have a seat at the table. And I'm asking for your vote either now or November 3rd. And you can find out more about me at banks4, GwinnettSchools.com. I appreciate your time, and thank you, ladies.
Thank you so much, Tanisha. And last but not least, Dr. Therese Johnson for School Board District 5.
Hi, thank you so much for the opportunity to present my platform today. It's an honor to be with these amazing women here. I am originally from Houston, Texas. I went to college in Puerto Rico. I studied at La Universidad del Sagrado Corazón. And after I graduated with the BA in Humanities, Languages and Literatures in English, Spanish, and French, I pursued an MPA from Columbia University. Then I relocated to Georgia and earned an MBA from Emory University, and then later on an EDD. I have functional experience in diversity, multicultural education. I am an educational leader. I've started schools, founded schools as a teacher as well. I've worked in the classroom. I've created lesson plans. I wrote a book called The Global Purpose Approach, which is essentially a resource guide for teachers to educate our students about the importance of embracing people from all around the world. So it is an approach that focuses on multilingual learning and diversity and equity, and celebrating all of the wonderful differences and similarities of our nation and our world. So Gwinnett County is a very diverse county, and it is really a great opportunity for everyone to unify, to work together, to learn about one another, and to celebrate one another. And I think I want to work for the community and represent all of our students and and just ensure that there is equity for everyone, that their needs are met. So I am running because I want to make a difference for all of our students. I want to make sure that the students in my district and all Gwinnett County students get what they need. So I ask you for your vote, and you can visit my website at Vote Therese Johnson, and please vote for me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Therese. Thank you all guests and candidates. So we're gonna go ahead and start on our agenda. The first item that we wanted to talk about is propaganda. We know that recently, a lot of the candidates on here have been attacked, whether that's YouTube videos, literature, commercials, by the opposing people that they're running against. And let's just discuss that. Let's talk about that, because at the end of the day, you ladies are all people. You're all regular people. You're citizens, you're constituents. You pay your taxes. You're part of a community. Your mothers, your daughters, sisters, all of that stuff. So why is it that it's okay to be attacked in that case? Can we discuss the propaganda and the myths and debunk some of that stuff?
I would like one of the school board members that are run for school board to speak on this, because there was a very visceral YouTube ad, and it has not been denounced by the sitting board members, which is unacceptable. These are definitely women that have contributed to their communities. They pay taxes, and to be labeled radical, if living in your home, raising your family, and paying taxes is radical, I'm sure all of us are sitting in this Zoom call are all radicals. So I just kind of wanted to have these school board members just talk about how it's making you feel, and why it's such a dangerous thing for them to do this. So let's start with one of you guys, please.
How am I starting? This is Karen Watkins. As Donna noted, Representative McLeod has noted there has been this video that was shared. And my understanding is if our school board members do know about this, they have not denounced it. This video has been, when I first saw it, I waited a few days to just try and take a step back so that I could see, as a person, not someone who is running for office, to see how it could make people feel, or what it was about, and just try to understand. When I opened the video, it started with lies, disinformation. Essentially, it was just one flat out lie. It's terrifying. And this is, me speaking, I can't speak for the others, but it's terrifying to see that we have school board members who have not denounced this, and could possibly, by not denouncing, aligning themselves to conspiracy theory and lies. Very extreme, radical, far-right conspiracy theory lies, almost Pizzagate-ish. And you saw what happened with Pizzagate. People were put at risk because of lies. And the fact that because we still have not seen our school board denouncing the lies, and being on the school board where we're supposed to learn fact, truth, legitimacy, and teach our children to critically think about these things, is disturbing. That, to me, is extremely disturbing, especially as a constituent with children in school. This is being allowed to spread, and our school board members are not saying anything about it. They are allowing lies, disinformation to spread, which could be dangerous to people, inclusive of my children, our Gwinnett County Public School children, depending on how someone takes these lies and twists them into feeling that they are heroes by trying to stop people that, that may be getting hurt because of us, because of the twistedness about the whole video. It's,
Karen, can I interrupt you for a second
Oh, yes,
and
of
ask you a
course.
question?
oh, yes,
This
of
is
course.
Dr. Fisher, and also Tanisha, same question. To put this in another perspective, do you think that this is happening because you are giving forth some great competition? Let's put it in that vein as well. You know, you can see it
Yes,
as a threat,
absolutely.
but Tanisha, can you work on that for me for a minute? Do you think that you are a threat?
Oh, I believe that that is absolutely the reason, because I think that if you as an opponent have to sacrifice your dignity in order to win, that's a pretty desperate move. Especially if you are a sitting member on the school board, you are supposed to show by example. So if you are not denouncing that, and then it lets me know that you actually are condoning it. And that speaks volumes about character and about
Decency.
how you perceive yourself in the public, to our children, to our constituents.
We lost her sound.
While until she gets ready to speak again, I'd like to just say,
I believe that they should not even win this election just on that alone.
But you know, you have some new people, and I think Dr. Therese wanted to address this too. Thank you, Tanisha, and thank you, Karen. But this goes over and beyond and including school board and for every one of your positions. I've seen these mailers, they're horrible, they're ridiculous. So, but they're funny in a way. I mean, Karen was very right about them being dangerous, but they're also in some measure showing how competitive you all are. So give the audience that's here some measure of what you plan to do that isn't on these mailers. Like, what are you really planning to do, if you can? Dr. Therese?
I wanted to address the video, and I want to say that it is indicative of the systemic issues that are prevalent in our school system. We already see, based on the evidence, the data is showing that our Black and Brown students are disproportionately impacted, and in various ways, from discipline to representation in the classroom, to the erasure of our history and our factual education around who we are as a people. And this is just trickling down from the leadership. And so what concerns me about this propaganda is that we have people who are currently leading our school system who are white supremacists. We have people who are currently in leading our schools who are attending meetings that are led by organizations that are linked to white supremacy and conspiracy theories like QAnon, like the Tea Party of Georgia. And I just ask you all to please, when you go to the polls and when you vote, to think about voting for equity, voting to make sure that all of our students are protected, and voting to make sure that we do not have a system that is currently in existence where there is disproportionality and there are injustices that are rampant throughout our school system. We have to do
Nikki,
better.
what do you have to say about that too? Thank you, Dr. Therese. What do you have a comment about that as well?
Yeah, so we are you talking? Yes. So the mailers are absolutely ridiculous. As you can see, we are clearly a threat to all the seats that we're running for, and we are viable candidates, and we are going to flip these seats. So that's why we're seeing what we're seeing, them coming for us as they are. And if you look at it, I know for the General Assembly seats like mine and Rebecca's, it's the same template. We're all extreme liberals. And we're not liberals, actually, we're all progressive. And God forbid that we want healthcare for everybody, which is what we want. We want to make sure that we are, things like wage increases, and we want to make sure that there's equity in education. Like, these are the things that we're fighting for. We want to bring, have job training here and get people, bring research and development here so workers can increase their skills and have better jobs. We want companies to pay their share of taxes and not have those taxes levied on regular people. So, they try to attack us in those things to say that we're liberals and socialists, and that is just insane. I mean, all of us here are moms. We are not for riots going down our streets. We all live in these nice suburbs here in Gwinnett County. If anybody's ever visited Gwinnett County, nice neighborhoods here of diverse people. I know in my neighborhood, we have old, young, we're very diverse here. And we want what everybody else wants, to live well. Everybody wants good jobs. We want good schools. And, the mailers that we've seen are just so off target. And I can say with mine, they're aligning me actually with federal positions, Bernie and ACO and Nancy Pelosi, those are federal. I'm running for a state Senate seat. So they're way off marker there, just even aligning me there when I'm running for a local state Senate seat. But that's all that they have. And that's all that they have to attach to us, what is nationally known out there. But on a local level, we want to work on the kitchen table issues.
And Nikki, thank you so much. Nikita, you've got to jump in here too. I personally have gotten some of your mailers, and I've talked with you about this, and they have been horrific. And again, like earlier, I wish you, I'm sure everybody in this room wishes you all well, but you know how I felt about those attacks on you. Can you speak to what Nikki was just speaking to?
Yeah, so much of what all the ladies are saying is true. And what I can tell you in particularly as it relates to my situation, I'm a realtor. My reputation is tied to my livelihood. When you slander my reputation, I cannot survive after this moment. There's something to be said about character when you don't care about the people you're willing to destroy to hold on to power. And then we as voters must look at ourselves. Do we really want these people representing us, speaking on our behalf? Because what is it about them that makes them the right voice for you when they lack moral character and integrity to do the right thing? My opponent will never, ever tell you, but I called him early in this race and asked him for us to run a clean race because the voters deserve that. When you send out slanderous mail, you cloud people's judgment. You provide false information and you're not allowing them to make the best decision for themselves and their family. So yes, everyone is right, in terms of perspective and how we deal with this. But I really find that it's important to be transparent and tell your truth. Every time they come up, tell your truth. Don't let it grow, because that's the only way we're going to be able to fight against that. One of the mailers my opponent sent out was me laughing and applauding, burning down police cars and stuff like that, not giving consideration to the fact that my grandfather was a police officer in Chicago, that over 41 members of my family have served in law enforcement or in military. This is absurd. So it's very important for us to combat these lies with the truth and make sure people know it.
Thank you, Nikita. Rebecca, do you want to weigh in on this? Do you have anything that you'd like to say about this issue? Have you received any of these crazy mailers?
Well, so until recently, the attacks on me were very public. And so I've been on television apparently for 6 weeks, people keep telling me, but they were not attacks on my character until recently. So this was the first week when the mailers became a personal attack on who I am. They were—
Join the club, you're doing great then.
I know, so I've graduated. However, the television ad actually speaks to, again, what Nikki was saying, things that are really important to us. I do believe we should all be able to use healthcare. I do believe we should be working for wages that allow us to support our families. So I think they've taken issues that people are in my district are really passionate about because they are important to families and individuals in our district to be able to thrive, and chosen to try to paint those as issues that people don't want Georgia to accomplish. And I think
Fear,
it's
fear
really,
mongering, fear
it's
factor.
really foolish on their part, because we're going to get to the legislature and we're going to need to work together on these issues to make sure that people do have health care and to make sure that people do make the kind of wages where they can support their families. And what I have been really lucky so far in the way these attacks been placed, but it is worthwhile pointing out that what I have seen has come at different candidates has been very different, and I am aware of that, and other people are aware of that, and we're not blind to how that's happening.
Dr. Therese, I think Udi asked me to get back to you on this question that you were not able to answer it or we didn't hear you. Would you like to weigh in on this before I throw this back to Udi? Can she hear me? Mm-hmm.
So the question that Dr. Tracy asked, I think it was a general one, but Therese had it, was asking like, what kind of plans would you put in there to basically debunk what they're saying about you? So I don't think we got a clear response from you about that, Dr. Therese, and I want you to speak to that.
Thank you.
Thank
Udi.
you. Thank you, because I wanted to address the first one. So this particular question, I completely agree with Nikita around just speaking your truth and moving on. And knowing who you are is so important. So when the lies are there and people can say whatever they want to say about you, we have to be clear about who we are. We know ourselves, we know our hearts. And I can sleep at night because for me, being an authentic person gives me so much power in being clear about who I am, how I walk, the decisions I make in my life, and what I have done and what I plan to do. My intentions are always pure, to make an impact, to make a difference, to change people's lives for the better. And so when we speak our truth with authenticity, when we speak our truth with courage, and we're very clear about that, we just move on and life keeps going.
You're so right, Dr. Therese. Thank you all so much for that great question. We're trying to decide whether or not, Udi, should we ask him that question about defunding the police versus police reform and start with maybe Patsy Austin Gatson on that one, because there's such a confusion, right, Donna McLeod, about what is the distinction or what are the distinctions between defunding the police and community policing, and what you all believe in relationship to that term, defund the police.
So Dr. Fisher, and that's a great question, and I do want Patsy to answer that. But it is also stemmed to create fear, right? The way it's presented is to create fear and create people feeling that, oh, these are all people that don't want the police, and there's a clear difference, and I think Patsy will make it very clear about the distinction between defunding and reform, and I think that's what we're asking for. And when you wear our skin color, we have to demand it.
Yes, that is true. I spoke with a group recently, a Rotary group, and I was asked that specific question: what is my position on defunding the police? I immediately told them that, to me, that's a misnomer, because really what it means is, let's look at the areas that the police are policing and see what the needs of those communities are, and look at what it will take to address those needs. For example, police cannot be expected to handle everything that they're called out for. You know, we need mental health workers with them. We need people that can go in and, you know, work to de-escalate situations with people so that folks are not being shot in the back. You know, I mean, let's be real. We have men and women being killed on our streets. And this is what's happening in Gwinnett County. We want to try to keep that tap down. We don't want to have the incidents as we see all across the country. We've had certain things that have happened here, of course, but we need to be careful because we want to keep our community safe. We want to have a good relationship with the police departments. And this came across to me recently also. A concerned citizen was indicating to me, well, the police feel like if you get elected as DA, should they look for other jobs? And I pretty much said that's sort of ridiculous because they're concerned about being prosecuted. And then I had a second thought about that is if you're so concerned about being indicted on a charge, what are you doing in the first place? We have to ask ourselves these questions. What are we doing? And I anticipate that people are thinking along those lines, well, if they get caught doing this, are they going to be charged? If they're doing the wrong thing, they're just like any other citizen. You know, you're going to be charged. You have to be accountable. But I believe that we will have enough, a good rapport with our policing agencies. My husband has worked in that area for a very, very long time and retired from a county policing agency. So when people say they are good cops, yes, we all know that there are good cops, but at the same time, I saw a posting recently to say that we're all not suspects either. Black and brown people are not always in the wrong.
So Patsy, does that speak anything to culture and climate as well? Like if, you know, as you have said before, leadership starts top down.
That's correct.
So that culture and climate piece is significant.
Mm-hmm.
Yes?
It is. And I think, you know, it's going to be a lot of work for everybody. This is not anything that's going to be answered in 24 hours. We all have to work really hard in changing the culture, changing what is causing us to be targets. You know, we cannot be that anymore. We can't be targets. You know, what will change us to not have that fear and trepidation when our young men go out, when they're just driving, when they're just jogging, when they're just doing what they should be doing, and we're nervous. You know, these are things that we have to address as a community. And that's one of the things I want to do as the district attorney. One of the first things that I want to do is to have a town hall on the status of our criminal justice system in Gwinnett County. I want to know what people are thinking, what they're feeling, and what they have gone through.
So let me say something. I have a grandson and he's only 4. So for me, this is an important issue. I will say this and I will confirm this. I had a gentleman sleeping inside the post office in Lawrenceville. And so I called the city manager and I said, look, this gentleman is sitting here. He sent out, I think it was 2 police officers, and all they really could do was tell this gentleman to get out the post office. There was no resources. They had nothing to help this man. And so it is so important for us to look at resources and how it's being used. And that is why we're talking about reforming the system, because it's not helping the police as well, because they felt helpless. I mean, anyone with empathy, and this word empathy is so important to leadership. I can't tell you how much it is to know that somebody else is in pain, even though you're not feeling that pain, that you can actually feel to understand what they might be going through. And there's so much lacking in that part of our government. And I think it's just the missing is that people are not realizing that people that are elected are there to serve the public, serve for the public good, and use the resources for the public good. And so when I encountered this, and I just had an issue today, even in Lawrence, where somebody was thinking about committing suicide in Dacula, and there was no resources. Again, no resources at hand in this county and also in the state. So we need to, and as legislators, we have that power to be able to allocate stuff. And then the county folks can also do their part. This is going to be an effort that has to be done together. This is such an important part of making sure that people are getting a return on their investment, which is their tax dollars.
Exactly.
Donna,
Can I add
correct.
On this, Donna, behind you in reference to that, because there's a whole bunch of disinformation in reference to school board and SROs, which is not my platform. It is my opponent's
We're having a hard time with, you want to call
and
in?
I get a lot of questions from constituents about. Can you hear me now?
We
No,
couldn't hear the beginning of what you said.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to chime in reference to what you were talking about, because I get a lot of questions about the SRO, the school resource officer, which is not my platform. I wasn't running on that at all. It's my opponent's platform, but it's a fear mongering tactic, just to let you know, because when you instill fear in people, that is what my opponent has to do in order to get votes. So, and I've already mentioned this before, but in reference to school resource officers, we need social workers, school counselors, mental health counselors to help our students in school. Now, I have had the pleasure to work with many awesome school resource officers in my school. And I'm going to tell you a personal story, because people can relate to particular stories once they hear. I'm a special education teacher. I teach at a trauma-informed school. So we have a lot of issues sometimes. Particular day, a student had a meltdown, ran outside of the building. The two assistant principals, the SRO, and were outside trying to help the student. The student wasn't listening to anybody. My assistant principal knew that I had a relationship with my students. So my assistant principal went to find me, pulled me out of class, and said, "Ms. Banks, come in, can you please come and help me with the student? I know you're going to be able to do it." Took me outside. The student was underneath a trailer, crawled underneath there, wouldn't deal with anybody. I had to talk to the student. We had a relationship. This student knew who I was. I had to de-escalate the student. The SRO officer was not involved in the discipline. He just stood as a precautionary measure, just watching the situation. But it took the relationship that I had with that student to take him off of the ledge that he was on. I de-escalated the student. I got him to come from wherever he was up from. I coerced him to walk into the gym. I knew he liked basketball. Everyone followed behind me as I was taking the student in and made him start to play basketball, take his mind off, using the different techniques that we as special education teachers know how to do to help our students. There was no need for involvement of an SRO. And thankfully, our SROs that I work with know their role. They don't get involved with the discipline at my school. We get involved with the discipline at my school. So what we're saying is, it is about relationship building with our students. It is about making sure that their mental health needs are taken care of. And that is the whole issue behind making sure we have those resources in our schools to help the needs of our students. It is not getting rid of all SROs. We know that SROs play an important part in our schools, but they should not be playing a part in the disciplinary actions against our students. That is up to our assistant principals or our AP disciplinary principals that deal with those particular situations.
But there's
And
some
it's all
other
based
things, Tanisha, that go along with that have to do with your data collection, which I know you would have probably included that, but there is such a skewed representation of persons of color, students of color, involved in disciplinary actions that are charted by the state to a degree, but when in school suspension, those things aren't charted. So Karen, you know that we need more persons of color who are actual educators, because what Tanisha is talking about is her presence with that student. And we know that there are limited numbers of teachers of color, and that discipline is skewed tremendously in relationship to students of color. Can you speak to that aspect of what Tanisha was talking about?
Yes, and I also want to stay on topic with reference to, because this is where the fear has come in. I wanted to just make a explanation behind this. Our opponents have tied and linked defunding, quote unquote, defunding police to defunding SROs. And I want it to be very clear, and I think Dr. Therese and Tanisha have tried to explain this earlier, that there's a safety component and a discipline component. I think we're aligned with probably Dr. Therese and Tanisha. We believe that we do not want a police officer disciplining any of our kids, any discipline with reference to safety. An SRO, a police officer, they can be there. Yes, they can be there, but they're one component of the safety, just like with the police officers in real life, when out in the streets trying to protect and serve the people. The police officer is supposed to have, the police officer in the school is supposed to protect and serve the kids, the educators, those folks, making sure they are safe in the school environment, not disciplining any of them. So I wanted to be very clear about that because of the fear that, I've had parents that know me question me about whether or not I want a safe school for my children that go to the same schools they go to. That's how deep this fear goes through. But I do not want a police officer disciplining my 6-year-old child. I do not want that, nor I do not want them to discipline any 6-year-old child because they do not have the expertise to discipline them properly, to bring them down, walk them, take them off the ledge like the way Tanisha has the expertise to do those things. We need teachers that are trained in that and fund that for discipline. I want to be clear for everyone. For discipline, teachers like Tanisha, counselors, social workers, even out in the police force now to de-escalate, just like I think Donna McLeod brought that up, and Patsy. We need those folks for de-escalating factors, not for the escalating factors. When you serve and protect, you want to make sure you serve and protect all the people. And you also have to understand, even with training of the police officer, whether it's in school or out of school, training them, putting the money towards that to help ensure that they are able to safely serve and protect all of the people of Gwinnett County. So I am, with Tanisha and Dr. Therese, I believe we are all aligned to help ensure that our police officers in school are leveraged in a fashion that is for a safety component, not for a discipline component. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen. I just want to remind everybody it's 8:07, so let's try to keep to 90-second responses. So we can move through some of the questions. You want to speak, Nikki?
Yeah, I wanted to say, as we're talking about defunding the police, I want to get this clear because it's on the mailer out there. I am not for defunding the police. That is a complete and total, that's absurd. The police it's a value service. We need them in our community. What I am for is reforms. We need to reform excessive force. We need some racial bias training. We need to build a higher standard for hiring. We need a database for that. I want to see a statewide comprehensive database to track bad behaviors of cops that move from state to state or county to county, and we can track that behavior and see who those bad actors are. And that's what we're talking about. We need reforms for those bad actors, and we know that they are there. We know that we need more bias training because we already know that African Americans are targeted in those biases. I have a teenage son. I worry about him all the time, about how he is going to be viewed out there in public if he gets pulled over. We already know that exists. So we actually want to have policies in place to limit those things. We need mandatory body cameras, de-escalation tactics. So these are just a few things I would like to see, statewide happen, but not for defunding the police. I want to support our police. We need them. They need better pay so that we can get a better crop of police just in our state and in our counties. So they do need that support as well as more improved training.
Thank you so much, Nikki. And I wanted to pivot back on with Patsy Austin. So how do you feel about community-based review boards for the police? Is that something you think is doable from the DA standpoint or even from a legislative standpoint?
Well, I
and
think
those bad actors together,
Yes. I think that's a good thing to have, but being in Gwinnett County, we have several policing departments. We don't just have one department. We have several. And I think that each department will have to spearhead how they deal with the public. And I think they're probably getting better at it than they have in the past because of everything that has happened in our country. People are getting better at that. And I think that we have to continue along that road. Like I said earlier, it's not something that you're going to solve in 24 hours. But I think with the commitment from the community and all of the stakeholders, we can keep our county good. We can be better at doing it. And we have a more diverse community. And it's even more important that we deal with implicit bias and different things that are impacting our community. We have to do it. I mean, we have to do it. And I'm really excited about it because I think Gwinnett County has the best ability to get it done, to get the job done. I feel like we can be the ideal model for diverse communities on how we get it right. And
Absolutely on that. Absolutely.
Donna or you, I'm sorry, if I can,
Really
if I
quick,
can answer your question. in
because I
reference
think
to-
We really need to shift the conversation. I gotta ask Representative McLeod
yes.
about a different way to go so we can manage our time a little bit. Donna, should we be having some kind of conversation about COVID-19 and the jobs loss, or is that something that you want to even touch on a little bit?
So yes, because COVID is actually, until we get our arms around COVID, all of this is for naught. Even the legislative session, we won't even know if we can actually go back to session to sit beside each other because of COVID. COVID, the denial that has happened in this country about a virus. The virus does not care about if you're Republican or Democrat or Black or white or tall or short. It has nothing to do with that. It's science. I'm an engineer. I'm a chemical engineer. Science and data is everything. And I believe, and Rebecca is also a science major. We can't deal it in abstract and crazy. We have to deal with the facts and the data. And the bottom line is that we have had a principal or a president in this country that has said that he was trying to basically not scare people, keep it low keyed, as if we're children. You do not treat constituents that pay taxes as if they're children. You tell them the facts and we deal with it. The fact that we wear a mask, and I know that everybody might not be able to wear a mask, that's why we have shields as well. But the fact that we communicate and we basically spew out saliva, not knowingly, we actually can transfer the virus to others. And there are people that are asymptomatic. And right now, the country is actually seeing a rise again. And we are going to probably be at 250,000 people dead in a very short order. Probably by next week, we will have 250,000 people dead. So yes, we have to discuss COVID, because even in schools, the dilemma, should I send my kid back to school? My grandson right now is doing virtual learning. It's impacting everything. As a business, should I open up and have people seated in my restaurants? These are all decisions that are being made economically, emotionally, financially. And there are a lot we've had to deal with as legislators where people have lost their job due to COVID, and the Department of Labor is not doing their part to do it right. And we've had to, step up and say, this is unacceptable. There are people that are really in need, that are hurting. They are hurting. This is not a joke. When you can't pay your light and pay your water or have a roof over your head, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. And so it's so important for us. So yes, I do think we need to have input on COVID, because until we get our arms around it, there's nothing that matters in a lot of ways.
Yes, Nikki, can you address something about COVID-19? We know that according to MSNBC yesterday, they reported that 860,000 women have lost their jobs in the last 6 months. And they called it a she-cession instead of a recession. So with that in mind, are there things legislatively that you believe can be helped to support women who are now looking for employment, afraid of COVID, don't know where to turn?
And so that's a direct result. That's a direct result of the fact that they think that women aren't as necessary in leading their households, when a lot of households are led by women that have to feed their children. So that mentality is just ridiculous. So legislatively, one of the things that we're looking at is how we allocate money. What businesses are in need right now, and that's a thing that a lot of people are kind of not clear about, is the allocation of funds, right? The budget. That is the most important job that we have. The $28 billion that we collect from people in income tax and sales tax, 75% directly comes from that pool. Another 19% comes from fees that are paid, and 6% come from businesses. How we allocate the money in resources for women in the workplace, for creating especially small businesses that a lot of women own, not being able to get some of that funds to keep their business going. So there are things that we can do legislatively, but the most important thing to do is to actually have a plan to solve this problem of COVID. We actually need a national plan on how to solve this issue on COVID. This is not just a single issue, unemployment issue. This is a bigger, broader issue as to how we actually look at the problem of COVID, how we're actually dealing with it, and it has to be a national plan. It can't be singular. We've seen this now. We started with shutdown. They opened up before even our state opened up without even following the guidelines for CDC. Even the White House guidelines, they weren't following. So women are being affected the most because, the employers see women's ability to function in their families as disposable, and that is far from the truth. Women there's quite a large number of women, I don't know the percentage of women, heading households and need their job to feed their kids. And so,
Donna, do you think that there are other aspects of this that maybe one of the other panelists can address as well? Like, Nikki, do you have any idea about what Donna is saying and how you can dovetail on what she is proposing?
Yeah. So I've always maintained, until we can start taking care of our people with COVID, everything else will follow if we make sure that we're taking care of our people first. If people are not healthy, if they don't have the health care they need, our economy is going to crumble. Keep in mind, and we're back to the health care again, keep in mind, these women that lost their job, now they don't have health care. As a union worker, we negotiate health care for our workers. But let's say that worker just lost their job. Now we're back again to, we need to provide health care here. And I know legislatively, we're trying to expand Medicaid. As Donna was saying, the budget is a lot of what we do legislatively, and we cut $8.2 million from public health in the middle of a pandemic. That does not serve people. It does not serve our families. It definitely doesn't serve women. So the best things that we can do right now is let's make sure that we have equitable health care for everybody, so that these women are able to take care of their families and they don't have to worry about that piece. And then after that, we should look at things to how we can increase revenue here statewide. Find ways where we can generate more money so that we can help families and boost our economy and boost our businesses and our small businesses.
Thank you, Nikki. Nikita, can you respond as well?
Yes. So agriculture is the #1 income producer for the state of Georgia. Tourism is #2. 82% of the farmers hit a loss this year due to COVID-19, which means our #1 income source took a major hit due to this public health crisis. One of the things I would like to see, and one of the things that I am going to advocate for should I be elected to represent my community, are tax credits for small businesses, first responders, teachers, and families. I believe that's the first way we start in rebuilding our communities. Creating programs for micro enterprises and small businesses. Because truth of the matter is small business is the backbone of all business in the state of Georgia. And if we can now empower the newly unemployed people to go in business for themselves and create opportunities within our own communities, they can rebound and bounce back instead of looking to corporations, major corporations, to be able to create jobs. There's always going to be a curve. And unfortunately, once we start rebuilding the state, the amount of unemployed and the amount of available jobs, it's going to take some time in order for those to adequately line up. One of the other things I see is very important is that we adequately tax the major corporations that are here in Georgia. When we don't tax them properly, these corporations take their profits and they leave the state of Georgia. You know, I just heard the greatest travesty ever, which was that our ballots are being printed in Arizona and not in Georgia. We have to do a better job about keeping taxpayer money in the state of Georgia, introducing new opportunities for small businesses, and introducing new economies, new industries. So yes.
Thank you, Nikita. Rebecca, do you have a comment about COVID-19? I'm guessing yours will be based in healthcare.
Well, I mean, so my PhD is in transmission dynamics of infectious disease. So I approach the systemic issue in my mind as a model of how disease is actually moving through our community. And I think everyone has been absolutely right when they say we need to address this as a federal problem. We also need to understand that when we do things that increase population mixing, like not put in policies about wearing masks and not be really firm about not allowing gatherings with high numbers of people, that what we're doing is not just creating a local event, but then allowing that transmission to continue throughout the community. And we've seen 2 large spikes of COVID now. And as we're watching the state numbers slowly make a turn and potentially go up again now, we have to really think whether we want the state to go through this again or whether we want to have some discussions at the state level by our leadership about making sure that we are really strongly observing the guidelines we've set out. I think I want to also go back to your comments about the recession deeply affecting women. Something that we can do at the state level and we need to talk about is the fact that this did not just pull women from their jobs, this pulled children from daycares. Daycares are not a high income industry in Georgia. They're expensive to run. They're regulated so that we feel confident that our children are safe in them. But when you take a daycare that had 100 students in it and you say, well, you're going to close for 6 weeks, and when you open up, you're going to have 25 students, there is no way for that daycare to survive. It's almost impossible. And you're going to see a massive set of closures in daycares if that hasn't already happened yet. And what that does is it takes jobs away from the people who were in the daycares, but also it gives people no place who were in the workforce, no ability to return to the workforce. So something I would love to see at the state level is a conversation about not just expanding pre-K, which we should definitely do, but also how we're going to be able to support the industry, the daycare industry, because that not only gets women whose children are in those daycares back into the workforce, but it also helps all the women who are, and this is a predominantly female workforce. So I think I would like to see the state be able to address specifically how we are dealing with this issue in the coming legislative session, because I think the investment in making sure that our daycares can get back on their feet will help a whole bunch of Georgians, and economically will make our state stronger, as well as make sure our children are getting the early education that they need.
Thank you, Dr. Rebecca. We're going to shift just for a moment to a guest, because you're talking about young children, and we have a guest in the room, Amanda Cisney, who has a baby who is getting ready to start school. And her question dovetails on what the responses have thus and those to come about education, new students, COVID-19, and very concerned parents like Amanda. So Amanda, I see you sleepy and ready to ask your question. She is a mom. You know she has to get her sleep. So let's please let Amanda ask her question of you all right now and give her quick answers because she has to put Mariah to bed. Go ahead.
Yes, I do. Well, actually, she just woke up from a long nap, so it's going to be a long night. But my question is for the candidates running for Gwinnett School Board. As you saw, I have a daughter in preschool, so I just wanted to know if you have any safety ideas for the elementary school students in regards to COVID-19 that would help better their safety, should I say, when they return to school or if they return to school, as well as their teachers, because they need more safety than the kids to actually be in the school and with all of the materials. So,
And Amanda, let them know that Mariah, this is going to be Mariah's first time at school. Mariah has never gone to its kindergarten.
yes, she has never been in school before, so this would be her first time. So I am a very anxious mom.
Well, I can address your concern, Amanda. First of all, I am an advocate for universal pre-K for Gwinnett County. So your daughter would have been able to be in pre-K and be prepared to go into kindergarten if we would have this established for Gwinnett County. It will also help with the financial burden that that families have in reference to paying for daycare for pre-K students. And in reference to keeping kids safe, it's difficult to answer this question because right now there is not a comprehensive plan to even really monitor or know accurate data and numbers according to positive cases in school, and to know what the threshold is going to be to make the decision to keep schools open or close them, because that has not been implemented. So I am at a loss as an educator to what's going to happen, because I don't even know. And I know there's not a threshold to tell us, okay, if we get at this certain rate, we're going to have to close our schools down. I don't know. At my school, all the kids' temperatures are taken. So I don't know if other schools are doing that. I can only go by where I'm working. Everyone that goes into this building has their temperature taken. However, that still does not mean that they cannot be asymptomatic and not have a fever and still be able to spread the virus. So, that is a question that I really cannot answer. We try our best. We have masks for the students. If they don't have any, we have masks, we have shields, we have guards on our desks that are placed there. The plexiglass is there. Students are at their computers, and we try to keep our social distance because we have to stay 6 feet away. So this is all new to us. So I don't know what to tell you in reference to keeping them 100% safe. And that has been the struggle that I've been stating from the beginning, is I cannot guarantee that, but I'm doing my best as an educator.
Thank you, Tanisha. I want to have Rebecca make her comment 1 second, because she has to get off in literally in a minute. So Rebecca, go ahead and make your statement or comment right quick before you leave. And thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me. Sorry, do you want me to make a comment about schools and safety?
Yeah, the comment you sent me in the message.
Oh, so I was just circling back to childcare and schools and the impact it has on the community. So I had 4 children who were below school age in March, and I have 1 who was supposed to be starting kindergarten this fall. So for us, when the school, when the daycares closed and the schools went digital, that my life exploded, right? I am faculty at a research university, and I just had to say, no, I can't. There's no human way that I can watch 4 children and work right now. But even without COVID, I want tying into Tanisha's comment, the childcare crisis in Georgia was immense, right? If you have 2 young children in Georgia, it is almost impossible to be making more money than you're spending on childcare. Given that, so my last 2 are twins, so we were not expecting to be in this situation. But it's not something one can possibly budget for and expect to be working and earning more than you're paying in childcare. So this crisis that we have right now, it's not just a COVID crisis. This was already here. It just, if you weren't living it in that moment, you weren't experiencing it, you didn't know it. But everybody who has children in childcare understands the enormous economic impact not having universal pre-K, not making sure that we're talking about, do we need to add money? Do we add to talk about the impact of caps? So the ability to make sure that people who are working or who are in education are able to access childcare at a price that's affordable. This was something we already had here. So
if you're running for House and you have firsthand experience, do you think that that's some kind of legislature that you can write in there where it helps working mothers or working parents with some kind of subsidies or something when it comes to daycare?
So absolutely, we have right now, Donna is one of the champions in making sure that we're advocating for state level universal free pre-K as well. So the CAPS program is designed to help people who are working or are in education and who need their children in care in order to pursue that path. And I think looking at whether those programs can be expanded is, again, when we get back in a situation where a little investment into Georgians is a huge increase in our Georgian economy, right? And we're also at the same time making sure that we are helping young families who are trying to make it through that period where your costs are just incredibly high. I don't like talking about childcare without talking about the fact that the majority of people who work in childcare are Black and Brown Georgians. And when we talk about making sure people have access to childcare, we also need to be talking about the amount we're actually paying childcare employees in Georgia, which is not sufficient to support a family. So I think we really also need to have this conversation in context of what would a program look like at the state that is not only helping people who are using the childcare, but people who are employed in the childcare as well. Because if you are making $8.25 an hour, which is somewhere near the quote where I saw for what a assistant teacher is making in a daycare, is that really helping your family get where they need to go? So our state programs should also take into consideration the impact of the workers as well as the people using daycare.
So let me back up before you leave. I have to make sure that I say that Amanda's daughter did go to preschool. So I want to make sure that everybody knows that she attended. And also Representative McLeod said that she would extend this this conversation to 8:45 because of the late start. But Amanda, we appreciate you being here. If I know you have to leave off, and Mariah is brilliant, and I'm sure she will do wonderfully well in school when she does go to big girl school.
Thank you so much, Dr.
Thank you so much. I do want to add something that's very important for people to understand that listen, audience that might not know this. Regarding schools in Georgia, the last time the formulation was done was 1987. Gwinnett County, as obviously from 1987 to 2020, Gwinnett County does not look the same. Gwinnett County actually pulls resources from other counties because of our growth. And so we have to look at the formulation of the formula to fund public schools, such a very important part of making sure that we have equity in school, right? And this is a problem at the state level that I'm working on. I've been pushing for pre-K. Right now, only Title I, the only schools that have pre-K is usually for kids that are in special needs right now. And the fact is we should open it to all students, because we know that if children aren't reading by grade 3, They tend to have the school to prison pipeline expanded for them. So this is something that is very important for us to look at as legislators, but as educators as well, to advocate, to push for this. It's so important that we are educating and having preschool pre-K in the schools, and that the public school system and the state also works with it. It's not just the Title I program that they're using. All that funding comes from Title I, from the federal government. Our state needs to invest in our students as well when it comes to pre-K.
Yes, that is amazing information, Representative McLeod. That is great information as well. So we're going to try to shift gears again. Bye, Dr. Mitchell. Bye, Dr. Rebecca, if you have to leave. We're going to shift gears one more time or two more times. We might be able to get two things in. We're going to shift it to transportation.
Wait a minute, Trace, before we get there. Let's let Donna talk about elections right quick.
All right.
And then talks about that, then we'll go back on.
Think about transportation.
Okay, so I just want to make sure that the viewing audience knows that obviously early voting is on the way and many people have voted already, but we do have people that still have absentee ballots. Please make sure you're filling those absentee ballots out, making sure that you're using a blue or black ink pen and filling in your selection beside your selection. Please make sure that you are not, once you're done filling it in and you have, you're comfortable with all your votes, make sure that you're putting your ballot inside the smaller envelope and sealing it, then putting that smaller envelope in the larger envelope. We are highly recommending that you do not put it in the United States Postal Service. Not that the Postal Service is not hard workers, but we know that there's been some shenanigans that is causing the slowing of our postal system. There are drop boxes all over the county and at the county library. So they're located at the polling locations as well as the 15 libraries in Gwinnett County. You can go to GwinnettCounty.com and get more information on where their location. Again, you can get an absentee ballot at mvp.sos.ga.gov. That's mvp.sos.ga.gov. If you're voting in person, you can see your ballot before you bring it in. You can actually print that ballot out, fill it out, and you can actually bring that into the polling location with you while you're voting on the machines. Again, if you are voting using an absentee ballot, please make sure you fill it out timely and return it. We are asking you to plan your vote and exercise your right to vote. This is the most important right you have in this country. I've always said this, knowledge is the most powerful thing you give to yourself, but the vote is the most important thing we give to each other because it literally determines how we all live together and how we coexist. And so I want to make sure that everybody's participating. You can go to my website as well, www.electdonnamccloud.com. I have an entire section on voting. So please, and if you want to sign up for my newsletter, you can go there as well. But please, whatever it is, make a plan to vote and make sure that you exercise that most powerful right that we've been given. And of course, the other candidates can also talk a bit more about it. But I just wanted to make sure that everybody had that information. Thank you guys so much.
And Donna, haven't wait times gone down considerably since the first day of in-person voting? I know some people went to vote yesterday and they only had 10 minutes to wait where they were, as opposed to the 10 hours.
Yes, of course. Everybody wants to participate in early voting. And so the first day was, but again, we had almost doubled our turnout in 2016 at this point in time. So bravo to the voters. You're taking it seriously. And yes, there are 8 locations open. And right now there is almost no lines at these locations. And there's 8 locations. So you have choice. And you can vote in any of those 8 locations, no matter where you live in the county.
Thank you.
Great. So Udi, do you want me to ask the transpo question or do you have a
let's
like
ask,
to pose?
do a few of our guests, do they have any questions that they want to give to a particular candidate?
Hey, good afternoon.
Hi, Simeon.
I just wanted to throw out there really quickly, if you experience issues while you were voting, be sure to reach out to the Election Protection Hotline, and that number is 866-R-VOTE. We know that there's a bunch of shenanigans going on. We know that there are a bunch of nefarious actors all around, and just as Representative McLeod said, your right to vote is so important. So the Election Protection Hotline is 866-R-VOTE.
And you know, I'm an English major, so when you're using, both of you are using the word shenanigans and nefarious, that is just like awesome to me. So we don't want to see the shenanigans and we don't want nefarious things happening. So I totally support and agree, and I know everybody else does as well. So Udi, back to you.
Yep, I think Derek, Mr. Brown has a question.
I have one question that I would like to go to the entire group. And first, I just want to say thank you to all of you for having the courage to step out and do what you're doing. Your answers have been amazing. Your courage is to be applauded. And, you know, I'm just proud to be living in Gwinnett in this time as we're becoming more diverse. People like you're stepping out on faith and you're actually exemplifying the change that we need. My question, real brief and simple. We all know we're in the middle of a propaganda war. It's been going on for a very long time. We're starting to finally confront it head on. When I saw the video for the ladies that are running for superintendent seats, that board member seats, that just kind of blew me away because there were 3 core pieces that came out of that piece, right? And it is propaganda, right? It is designed to incite fear. The first one is you guys are trying to institute some kind of sex thing. They put that in the video. And that's the kind of thing that sends people to pizza places in cities with armed weapons looking for nefarious, I wanted to use the word too, activity in the back of the restaurant. It's dangerous as hell. And it's got to stop. Number 2, we go back to where they're trying to manage the narrative right around resource officers. That's, you guys, that's not what you're running on. That's not your platform, but they're trying to control the language. And it's their old trick, it's their old shtick, it's what they do. And then the third piece was that you're trying to rewrite American history. We know they're big on that one too. When American history hasn't been written correctly yet. That's the problem, and that's what you're bringing to the table. So my question, right, is in this propaganda war, and you know, any of you can answer it, but I would just really love to see you take it to the appropriate level, not going low. I don't want you to really go any higher because you guys are maintaining, you know, a certain level of integrity, and that's great. But sometimes you got to say what needs to be said, and I would love to see
Brown,
something.
let me interrupt you because your question is multi-layered. So are you asking them?
I need ads.
The
I want
ads?
some ads in response. That's what I'm asking.
Talked about
something
that
that addresses the propaganda war.
They kind of addressed that early on in this chat in the program. Can they answer something that we haven't addressed yet at all? They did answer that. I'm pretty positive they covered it and said that they were very concerned and would do what they could to just promote exactly what they have in mind to do. If you don't mind, can we move on to a different question if you don't mind?
I don't mind. I do recall hearing that, but from my perspective and what I've seen, and maybe the question is a bit further outside of this purview, but it's not something that, you know, it's just for this candidates, for these candidates, it's something in general. In my opinion, in my perspective.
Can I try to connect a new thing with it for you? It has nothing, not exactly to do with it, but the publicity surrounding the transportation, that referendum about transportation has a lot to do with messaging as well, Mr. Brown. And why we haven't passed that.
That's fine.
Right. So if they can talk about that for 5 minutes or so before we wrap it up, about why that's important to all communities, brown, black, white, everybody, in terms of getting people to and from work, to and from school, et cetera, in Gwinnett County.
I think Nikita had a statement to Derek's statement.
Oh, okay.
Nikita, were you going to say something?
I was, and it actually ties into what is implied in the transportation referendum and why we have not been able to address those issues, which is simply put race baiting. You know, my opponent has spent $800,000 in a state house race to slander my name. His first act, he sent over 20 different mailers. The first action he did was he sent out a mailer with a statement from the president of the NAACP as if he was endorsed by the NAACP, and 2 leaders in the Democratic Party hailing him for the hate crimes bill. That sort of misinformation, people see it as Black people support this candidate.
Yeah.
Because the reality is, when he sent that mailer, he only sent it to the Black voters in this district. He just sent out another mailer. This one came the other day, and it is women who support sequestration. These are all women of color on both sides. Rather than sticking to the issues, this is what they do.
That's what they do.
They divide and they destroy, and they use us against each other. My opponent used a Black intern to file legal claims against me with the Finance Commission, all unsubstantiated, and I refuted those things. But we have to be stronger. We have to be able to identify these actions when they come, because the reality is, it's not about me. It's about stealing your voice. It's about taking away opportunity from you. Because in the next 10 years, if we don't get a majority, we're still going to be behind. And so the protests that you see on the street is going to get worse because we're divided and we're confused. There's something to be said with, and a lot of people are not addressing this, but I can tell you this, and I won't say who or what, but there is something to be said when a Black man will allow himself to be used to put down a Black woman. And it is happening today in politics.
Right.
We've got.
And on that note, we actually have to look at our watches, everybody. If you wear a watch, or your clocks. And we actually have had a vigorous, fantastic event that I hope has given the audience pause to think further if they have not yet voted, and the wonderful people that are on this panel who should be your elected officials. So I'm going to toss it back to Udi because we have to wrap. But my heart to yours, I thank you for letting me be a participant tonight. Udi?
Thank you so much, Dr. I just want to thank all of our candidates as well as our special invited guests on here, and Dr. Tracy for co-hosting. So just to wrap it up, I'll give everyone a minute to just say the last thing that you want to let people know about you and why it's important to vote for you. And if you're one of our guests, I can assume that you're voting for one of these ladies. So I would like to hear from our guests as well to state why it's important that we vote and our voices are important. So we'll go ahead.
Keep it to 1 minute.
We'll go ahead and start with Patsy Austin, and then we'll go with the board, school board members, and then Nikita and Nikki.
Well, all I can say is that there's change needed, and our voice is how we communicate to get that change. And then once we are in office, and I will just presume that we are all going to win our seats, then we have to be held accountable also. So I plan on being that in our community. And thank you, Nikita, for saying what you did. I think it's so appropriate and it's so timely. This has not been an easy endeavor. Running for politics is not a cakewalk. And it's something very serious because what you're talking about is the lives of people in the community. So everyone, let's just do this. Let's keep going. Let's stay positive. And as the guest said, let's stay high because they are going very low. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Patsy. Dr. Therese, you're next on my screen.
Hi, thank you all again for the opportunity to be here. I want to close with just asking everyone to please go out and vote. Vote your values. Your voice matters. Your vote is so important. Please vote for the people you believe can represent you in the best possible way. I don't take for granted the vote. I'm the only person on the ballot for District 5 School Board. I ask you to please bubble in blue or black ink or go to the polls and vote Therese Johnson, School Board District 5. If you'd like to learn more about my campaign, visit my website at votetheresejohnson.com. Thank you so much. Thank you for your vote. Thank you for believing in me. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Therese. And we have so many great candidates on here. We didn't really get a chance to dig deep into each person, but they have a lot of information out there. These people, candidates, are reachable. So if you have some questions, go and follow them on Facebook, look up their websites and reach out to them. They're responsible and they'll get back to you. So I just wanted to let everyone know that. So next we're gonna talk to Tanisha. Tanisha, your 1 minute wrap up.
Thank you. Just to reiterate all of what's going on in this climate right now, this goes to show all of the voters that are tuned in right now. Who would you want to represent your district? Think about the moral character of the person that you're about to cast your vote for. Is it going to be someone that believes in facts, figures, data, and science, such as myself? Or is it going to be for my opponent who chooses to engage in fiction and fraud? I know clearly all the voters out there are going to make the right choice. Vote for Tanisha Banks for District 3. And I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tanisha. Karen Watkins.
I wanted to say thank you to everyone for hosting this event and putting this together for us so that we can articulate our values and give our opinions on what's going on today. Our constituents are looking for change. The people are seeking change. And what they're asking for is to promote truth, facts, legitimacy, decency, and work towards hearing the voice of everyone. They're also looking for transparency. They're looking for leadership, oversight, and accountability. So with that, I want to leave you with, I want to be that elected official for you. Again, my name is Karen Watkins, Board of Education, District 1. Feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions, concerns, and want to hear truth, facts, and legitimate arguments and opinions about what's going on in our community.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Karen Watkins. Nikita Hemingway.
Yes, so I put my name on a ballot simply because I care about the people in this community. I want to remove those roadblocks so that every person has an opportunity to be the best version of themselves and live their American dream. And I believe that is achievable. We have enough candidates that when we elect the right people this next term, we can pass affordable health care and we can house the homeless. I am running for House District 104. I would love your support. Please tell everyone you know about me, and I am ready to do the work. This is about you, so I'm in it for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nikita. Nikki Merritt.
So yes, Nikki Merritt, running for State Senate in District 9. And like all the other candidates have said, we're running to serve. We're running to serve you guys all in a positive way. We mean well for our community because we care about our community. That's why we're jumping in. We're spending the time. I have been working on my campaign for 2 years, and I do it because I am determined and I am committed to make the positive changes and work with my colleagues here that you have on the phone to make those changes. So I'm asking for your vote. We need everybody out voting. No one can sit on the sidelines, and we're not taking anything for granted. I'm not either. And we just need everybody to participate. Let your voice be heard. Nikki Merritt, running for State Senate.
Thank you so much, Nikki. And we're going to do our guest, Mr. Brown. Did you want to give us a 1 minute comment?
Nothing more than, ladies, thank you so much for your courage and your ability to step out on faith and get the job done. Your policy points are what's making it happen. And I've already voted. You got me. It's a wrap.
Yeah, great. Mrs. Marlene, did you want to comment?
Yes, I want to thank all the candidates for your strength, your perseverance, and just know that all your supporters we see through the evilness and we condemn it. So stay strong and keep the faith.
Thank you so much. Simeon, did you want to add a footnote?
I love that all of you all are here. I love that the county is changing. I love that we're seeing more representation, that we are seeing fights for equity within the county. We're seeing that the 30% of Black Gwinnetians can have a voice in how Gwinnett moves forward. So I'm really excited about this year. I'll be voting on Tuesday or Wednesday, depending on some lines and some times. And lastly, again, make sure your vote is protected. And that's for all the people out there listening. If anything goes wrong, make sure you contact the Election Protection Hotline at 866-RVOTE. And Representative McLeod, I'm so glad you had this today, and I'm honored to be here.
Thank you so much, Simeon. And we're going to have the last word from our illustrious Representative Donna McLeod.
Not the illustrious. My last word is we wanted this platform to show these women for who they are and not let anybody else define us. We are well-defined women already. And they know to whom much is given, much is expected. And that's why they stepped up to run. And I am with them 150% because they are going to do good things on behalf of the people. And we are ready to serve. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone. Everyone have a good night. Thank you for joining us. Reach out to the candidates. Have a great evening.